right, I've been having some fun with some AI lately. Oh, fuck, my mic! I have not been having fun with my microphone, but I have been having some fun with AI lately. You know, the Chat GPT updated its model, and now everybody's doing these Studio. I literally don't even know how to say it. Is it Studio Giblets? Something like that? Studio Ghibli. It's Walt Disney World if you're, you know, a weeb. And I've been making some stuff. I made Ethan Ralph. That's a fun one. I did, there's Mersh and Dick Masterson. We got Fat Triangular Mersh here. You know, I mean, it's just been a lot of fun. A lot of people out there having a lot of fun. Nick Fuentes for the folks at home with a cat boy. Ethan Ralph getting married. That's a pretty good one. This is, I think, some sort of pedophile. There's another Ethan Ralph one. There's a Tomato Man. Vito, another Nick Fuentes, and Juju the cow. Anyway, so I've been having a lot of fun with these things, and then I realized something. The artists. You know, the artists. Will somebody please think of the artists? The artists are going to be eaten out of house and home. Wait, that's the same thing. They're going to all die. They're all going to fucking starve because of the AI. The AI is taking over all of their jobs. So I've brought on some experts with me here today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the program, Sven Stoffels returning, and for the first time, Faceless. Welcome to the program.
What's up, motherfuckers?
Thank you guys for joining me.
How's it going?
Sven, of course, you know, the author of one of the only good comic books out there, really, Butch Gilligan. And Faceless, who I know, you know, originally, I guess, from your shirts and your stickers and your merch. Weirdly, it's kind of like a backwards way to be introduced to a guy. But yeah, your Instagram accounts, you know, selling products and stuff. And then I technically found you through art you were making and selling. And
I've always been a behind the scenes type of guy.
Yeah. But now you have these videos and stuff out there. You got a Patreon and stuff, and they're very good. And you were just recently talking about this too. You did a video. It's funny enough, I was doing this topic anyway before I even asked you guys to come on. And I was going to call the episode Art is Dead, but you beat me to it.
I gotcha.
Yep. So
that seems to be the sentiment between all of the people who don't really understand what art is.
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
I think that's the main point that we should bring across here, because that's the art is such a nebulous term, and people don't really understand what it actually is. Maybe we can find some sort of a consensus tonight.
I think we need to. I think we're all basically coming from the same common ground, and we feel the same about this. But it is the position that most of, I would say, both the people defending the AI and the people who are against it are not taking and not thinking about. You know, with this Studio Ghibli thing in particular, I never watch anime. I don't know if I've ever even seen one of the movies. But
I would recommend watching the latest movie. Is a really good one, The Boy and the Heron.
I'm sure.
Autobiographical film that he made. It's actually really good.
I'm sure. And listen, I'm sure, you know, the latest offering from Disney was like really good too. But
I don't know about that. I doubt that.
Well,
but
a lot of artistry. I just look at Ghibli as weeb Disney. I can't help myself when it comes to that.
That's fine. That's a real cool, tough guy type of thing.
It's not that. It's just
it's actually good. It's actually
I believe.
good.
I do believe.
It's a true auteur, filmmaker. He spent 7 years on these films, sacrificing his own body and soul to create his art.
He watched his parents get evaporated in a nuclear bomb. You never have to. You never hear the fucking end about this guy and the nukes. Since he's always talking about how his entire family was exploded.
Everything a Japanese person makes, it must have some sort of a bomb allegory.
Yes, exactly. That is the issue I have with it's not, you know,
like get
that's
over
cool.
It
that rules.
Yes, it's awesome. You got to see something that nobody else has ever seen. It's like, I don't know. It reminds me of Jewish people in the Holocaust. Like, it's been 80 years. Let's get over it. We get it.
They're a little bit more annoying about it.
A little bit. So just a tiny bit. But yeah, with the Ghibli thing, you know, I'm just not into anime, but I will give Ghibli. I think I have seen it. What is the one? What is the one that everybody knows from that studio?
Spirited Away.
I've seen that. So yes, okay. So
I haven't seen
one.
any
They
Ghibli.
also they did one about the Nagasaki bombs, about 2 children surviving the aftermath.
No,
it's called Grave of the Fireflies. I highly recommend that one too. Probably one of the saddest movies you'll ever see.
Wake your kids up, take them there. You got to see this one in the theaters, folks. That sounds like a real lighthearted
Not for
romp.
kids.
It's nice. It sounds nice. Anyway, the point is, with Miyazaki, the guy who makes it, it is wonderful art. Of course, I've seen it, and it's all very good. But I've always had the reflex.
It's great, right? We can agree that it's great, but is it going to really replace all of the webtoon Rule 34 comic artists?
Right.
Is it going to replace
straight
them?
into it? We're going straight into it, because look, yes, I agree with that. Look, so what this whole Miyazaki Studio Ghibli thing is, it's like I said on my big post today on Twitter. It's basically
which by the way, I was the draft. Yeah. I was your draft inbox for that. Sven has basically told me everything he's going to say on this fucking show in the DMs already. It's crazy.
Yes. I needed to get my thoughts straight, so I was just basically just spitting at you, and you were offline even.
Yeah, I was not. Yeah, I was asleep, and you were like going.
Yeah, I needed somebody to echo off of, but you weren't even really there. But yeah, so what I'm saying is this whole Studio Ghibli phenomenon right now, this AI generative filter, basically, it is the Instagram face filter equivalent. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's the same thing as what I look like with a beard, or look, all these stupid little what is it called? Snapchat filters.
Or when
that's sort of the equivalent.
When like a secret trans guy is like, toying with the idea of being a lady and uses the gender swap filter.
Yes, it's similar to that. It's an Instagram filter. It's not. Nobody's under the illusion that.
So you're saying it's trans.
Miyazaki.
You're saying this. The thing I've been doing. That I've been playing with this AI. I've been trans for the past week. Basically.
That's true. Look, it's definitely not art. So I think this as Faceless says, these Twitter artists. And the funny thing is this, because we should get into this whole thing, right? So what do these people do? Rule 34, porno, art. Ash Ketchum, gaping, tubavore, nonsense, and they think that's art. So they fundamentally don't understand the definition of art.
Who's gonna draw Rick and Morty punching a Nazi? If AI, who's gonna do that? If AI takes over, no one's gonna draw.
Question.
Yeah, what are we gonna do?
It's an important question.
Some sentiment that I've been seeing is that a lot of, because the people that attacked me for that video that I dropped, the general consensus is you look at their work. And what they're creating is essentially the equivalent of human AI. It's soulless. It has no. It all looks the same. You guys know what I'm talking about. I don't even have to explain it. The colors the color palettes they use,
it's
the inspirations. It's like human AI. It doesn't even matter.
You can see.
That's exactly my point. That was the point of my post. Basically, is that they've relegated themselves already to being human AI.
When you you're fine. When you look at certain art, you can tell it's Twitter commission art. It's Twitter. It's basically clop. It's somebody's. There's some My Little Pony guy out there looking to clop his cock off. And this is the guy that you pay to get it done. You're yiffing.
I would actually suggest, Jesse, at this point, because I sent you 2 things in the DMs. I don't know if you have the ability to pull it up real quick, because they're doing like this thing like resist with like a fist symbol with like a pen in it, like the anti-AR people.
Yes.
But it's so fucking funny because the hypocrisy couldn't be more clear. Every single fist they've drawn is from a already copyrighted material from some corporation.
I think the thing that I'm realizing through all this discussion is that AI isn't the problem, it's IP. And one of the things I ran into while trying to get this show together is, I've been using the Chat GPT thing. I was trying to restyle the 3 of us as Studio Ghibli characters. And while I've had no issues doing this whatsoever up until this moment, all of a sudden, the second I tried to put the 3 of us inside of a cat bus, it couldn't do it. It refused because it understood that was an IP. The irony is ChatGPT is the only artist that isn't just drawing other people's shit.
Yeah. That's some integrity. The robot has more integrity.
They have more integrity. So the craziest part of this is, if this whole show, if I just turn this entire show into some sort of ChatGPT style swapping AI nightmare, and I very easily could, and by the way, would, if I did
and
that.
Should.
If I did that, these people would have a problem with it, not because it lacks artistic integrity, but because it isn't Batman. So this is what we're going to talk about tonight, folks, on Pod Awful. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go.
Get a job.
A thing we will be telling artists, fake artists on Twitter very soon. Get a job. Welcome, everybody. Oh my gosh. Hi, everybody. It's me, Jesse, from Pod Awful. Remember me? Okay. Sorry. I don't know how
you look amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Welcome. There we go. That might have just fucked up everything by doing that.
Sven, I wanted to touch on this whole resistance movement that you were talking about earlier. We already have hitters in the streets doing a psychological operation against these people that are standing up in protest to artificial intelligence. And I have a guy who's basically taking these people's tweets and showing them what their art would look like if it was in Studio Ghibli. And the results are really good, showing these artists just how good their work could be if it was Studio Ghibli. And they don't seem to be too happy about it, but a few of them have even deleted their posts because they realize that their shit is just mediocre. It's just mid.
Yeah. That's cool. Look, that might actually be a good way to tell, because at the end of my epic post on Twitter, I Ghiblified my Eli Klein murdering Palestinian cartoon version. I made a cartoon about Eli Klein murdering little kids, and Ghiblifying it actually takes a lot away from that piece.
It really does.
So if you look at my work, I completely agree with you. If you look, I was talking about it today. If you look at the work that I do, and I don't want to get a little too cocky, but some of my work, I don't think that AI could replicate it. I don't think that it could. There's some stuff that I have done, a few people watching this know what I'm talking about with the heavy line work that I do and some of the halftones. I don't think AI could do it yet. But for some reason, AI does a great job at replicating these mid artists' work and making and improving upon it. So there's a commentary to be made there.
So maybe perhaps we should start. Well, first of all, can you maybe pull up this that image of the fists, Jesse, before you move on? Because I'm
showing here's the original Eli Klein video. And then here's the Ghibli-fied version of it.
Did you make that video?
Yeah,
I made that one.
Oh, that's awesome, dude! I didn't even know you were that guy. You're that guy.
I'm that nigga. I'm that nigga.
That's awesome, man. Nice to meet you. That's great.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, dude.
Big fan of your work.
Thank you.
Okay. Awesome.
Now here's the thing. I find it interesting. It is a funny place to start. I don't think AI can replicate some of the things I do. I think that is obviously true of most actual artists, that it cannot. However, I do think that it will change way fucking sooner than anybody believes. And one of the things I do want to talk about, we'll get to this in a bit later in the show, is I have a conspiracy theory. I've sort of told Sven about this, not entirely, but I do have a conspiracy theory. And I believe that AI was trained on dream logic. And I want to explain what I mean by that and what it means for specifically artists and, by the way, for like laborer, the other people out there whose jobs are, they're worried about losing over AI. I have an entire theory about this, and I really do think there might be some merit to it. But yeah, Sven, let's go over what was the thing? The fill, is it fill tomato?
We should first look at those. Well, first the fists, and then maybe we can look at that weird dysgenic loser.
Yeah.
And then we should debate or at least come to a consensus on what the definition of art sort of is.
Okay.
I think that's very important.
So here is, now this is so fucking embarrassing to see this.
I mean, the hypocrisy is glaring. It's just retarded. Like, they don't know what they're talking about.
They have no clue. Yeah,
so here's video here. This is just a compilation of all these people that are now protesting the AI, the rise of AI.
Right.
And how did they decide to do it? By showing fists of pre-established corporate-owned IPs holding a pen.
Ben 10 is in the fight against AI, which, by the way, Ben 10, a character who used, an artificially intelligent device to copy other fucking creatures.
Yeah.
What they did Wolverine and didn't even fucking draw the claws. Look at this. They didn't draw. That is not a drawing of what is the fucking word? Why can't I think? Stylus. Thank you, stylus. They photoshopped that in. They didn't even draw the stylus. That is
cute that they point out they really think that they're making a dent.
Jesus.
Yeah, for those of you out there who don't understand what we're saying here, their big argument is that AI is stealing styles and stealing art styles from artists, and they're fighting back against it by stealing art styles from pre-established IPs. So it doesn't make any fucking sense, because that's what all these people do. It's like Faceless says, these commission artists, these not safe for work artists, which, by the way, look, fan art, people get confused because the word art isn't fan art.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even art. I doubt there's anything that with true artistic merit that's ever been done through fan art. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it is.
I've always said that. I'm so glad to finally hear somebody else say this. Every single time I see an artist on Twitter or Instagram or something, I like to follow art accounts. And when I see they do a good job of drawing or whatever kind of thing it is they do, I like to give them a follow and I like to support their stuff. And then every fucking time, all they draw, like 90% of artists online, they're just drawing other people's shit. And yes, maybe they drew it in their own style even. Maybe they drew their own pose from, just they made it up inside their head. But it's fucking Batman every goddamn time. It's so much Batman. It's so much Spider-Man. And I've always said that's not art. And it has infiltrated other mediums in a way that is insidious that I don't think people think about. Because when you go and see the latest shitty Star Wars movie, Star Wars, like it or not, if that's like, goy slop to you, fine. But it was made by a guy, George Lucas. He was he had a brain and he invented it. And he used his influences, but he made it, right? And now he's not part of it. And so everything made of it is fan art. And almost all of the things that are made now, everybody talks about sequels and reboots and, transferring IPs from one medium to another. The real issue is that in almost all of those cases, what's being made is fan art. It's not the guy who thought of it, and it's not even a guy with an original idea or how to present it. They're just giving you what they liked when they were a baby, basically, and putting it on the screen.
Yeah, and when guys like us were coming up, I'm sure you guys heard the term about how everything takes inspiration. Like, well, everything takes inspiration, right? I mean, there's people who, I remember when I was coming up, everyone was talking about Banksy, how Banksy copied some French artist who was doing the rat stencil before him. And I think that's been molested in a way and turned into where now it's a justification coping method. Well, everything's inspired. Everything's a carbon copy of a carbon copy of a carbon copy. You can still be original. You can still not do fan art. I'm fully with you, Sven. I am completely against fan art. And I'm not against it. I'm not, but it's just don't jump into my mentions and yell at me about my opinion on AI if all of your page is really shitty done fan art.
I'm into I promote hate art. I believe hate art is appropriate, is something
that's what I do.
Yeah.
Exactly. You draw hate, you draw the people and the things you don't like and use the drawing to make fun of them, which is why I enjoyed doing the Studio Ghibli stuff that I showed at the beginning of the show there. Obviously, that's not real art, but this debate, I think the biggest hurdle it has is that the people on the anti-AI side are not really artists, despite what they believe.
Yes,
they're
and they don't even know.
Argument.
They don't know what it is, right? So what happens is, this is the distinction that we need to make, because a lot of people confuse the term art with, for instance, like with pretty pictures. They think art is a pretty picture, right? But what you do when you make that confusion is that you're actually reducing art to mere decoration, and that's not what art is, because it's not just aesthetics, right? Art needs to say something. There needs to be a point of view behind it. And the art, good art reveals something. And again, like I said, there's like a tension to it. There's like in surrealism, there's contradictions and absurdity. And I believe that good art reveals truth, and that can be in an ugly way or in a beautiful way. You know what I'm saying? And so when you just look, here's the thing with fan art, you venerate a show that you grew up with. You like to draw Spider-Man in your own style. That's fine, right? But there's none of that. There's no meta commentary behind that. There's no vision behind that. It's just a cute little thing. That's fine. But that's not art. That is a pretty picture. Okay, so when somebody does fan art, that's just a pretty picture. It's not art. So that's why I say it shouldn't be called fan art. It should be called fan illustration or whatever you want to call it. Because it's simply not, it shouldn't be defined as art, because that's not what it is. You know what I'm saying? So that's...
And I'm excited about this because it's opening up a new conversation, because for the longest time on the internet, we've had artistic safe spaces where people like to praise each other in hopes of getting praise back, and they're afraid to actually constructively critique each other. And I think that's the thing with the fan art, is that it's a display of maybe some technical skill, and like how you said, it's a pretty picture. But now it's opening up a conversation and where we can actually look at these people objectively and say, your art is shit. It's garbage. Get better, get good, figure out what art is. And I'm thankful for
we
that.
need to make these people.
I'm happy.
We need to make these people homeless too. Like we need to.
Okay, so look. Here's the thing, right? So these people themselves have already they've already been reduced to like I said, like cogs in the machine. They are being prompted, because when they look, we talked about John Kricfalusi, the creator of Ren and Stimpy, the last time I was on this show, right?
Of course, probably every single time. Yes.
And we talk about him every single time.
How could you not?
Today. So what he did back in the 90s was he had a big problem with the writer's room, and like the writers basically telling the artists what to do. And he brought back creator-driven cartoons, because who's more intimately knowledgeable about a medium of cartoons than the cartoonists themselves? And it made for better cartoons, rather than having some fucking sitcom writer telling a cartoonist what to do. And what do? You get like Scooby-Doo stiff garbage that doesn't even take advantage of the medium, right? So, but artists have already, they didn't fight back, they didn't push back. So for the past couple of decades, all these shitty cartoons, Steven Universe, all this garbage, it's writers' room cartoons. So cartoonists and artists, they've already been just little cogs in the machine drawing the drawings that they've been told to draw.
By the way, sorry to
interrupt. Developed a vision.
Sorry to interrupt, but real quick, I just want to say I did also, I had invited on a third panelist for this discussion. our friend Spum Donor, who unfortunately could not be here, but of course would be perfect for this part of the conversation because this this is what he talks about quite a bit on Twitter. But sorry, go ahead.
Yes. So artists already have been they've literally have become AI already. You know what I'm saying? So, and what happens now? What's the future of art or artists? It is the indie scene. It is actually becoming an artist. It's no longer sufficient to just be able to draw well, because that flies when you want to do AI or fan art and you want to get commissioned, or you want to do not safe for work stuff, because that's how these people make money. Like I've never done a commission. I've never done that. If somebody pays me $10,000 for it, and as FW work, I would say no. And that's a form of prostitution, by the way, and it's fucking.
That's OnlyFans. You're basically an OnlyFans whore spreading her hole open and getting guys to spit in it.
Basically, you're another. Yeah, go ahead, Faceless.
Well, on my channel, I talk about the commission artist a lot because growing up and trying to figure out art myself, there was always cliques and local competition. You know how it is. Being an artist, there's always guys who are just going to hate you for no reason because of your style. And some of those guys, now that it's been about 15 years of me just consistently grinding this whole art thing, there was one of them that I linked up with, and I saw him in the store, started talking to him, and all he could talk about was the $60 commission that he landed. And I remember he went to FITM. He went to a really high-end art school back in the day for about full ride and all that stuff. And I started noticing a trend with this whole commission thing, where that's the level of success is this $60 commission. You know what I mean? Like, it's this whole I really agree with you when you say that, the whole, like, you're not going to pay me to do that type of commission. Like, it's not going to happen. And if it is, it's going to be an egregious amount of money that you wouldn't pay anyways. The commission thing isn't they're using, like you said, pretty pictures to determine the value of their art, and their commissions to probably determine the other half of their value as an artist, when really just make art.
Yeah.
Why do you have to justify it so much?
I would say pretty pictures aren't even art, right? So we keep confusing and I understand it's such a confusing thing, right? But yeah. Fan art isn't even art. When you just draw a pretty picture, that has no artistic merit. It's not doing any.
They're using that as a scale. Yeah.
Yes, it's just you're a skillful craftsman. That's true. You know what I'm saying? It might be true. But here's the thing: if all you've ever done as an artist is worked for studios as being prompted by the HR department of 4 big fat black women and a Jew, okay? You're going to be replaced by AI. If all you've been doing is, what was that? If all you've been doing is, they run Hollywood, Jesse, you didn't know that?
Sorry, nothing, what? Sorry, everyone, we have to go now. Goodbye.
Where was I? Yeah, if all you're doing is like fan art or like not safe for work, commission work, yes, AI can do that now. The gooner, basement dwelling, creepy guy who wants to see like Tuba Vor Pikachu farting on Ash Ketchum or whatever. I don't know what the fuck.
Kind of selling me on this idea.
Well, try out Stable Diffusion. You type it in, and there is Pikachu.
I would like to buy a commission from you, actually.
I don't do that. I don't do that type of stuff. But
do you think this conversation would be even like had so widespread right now if these people weren't mad that their dreams of making money on their art weren't just squashed? Like, they're also, in turn, by doing this whole standing up against AI thing, they're giving it validity. And it's hypocritical, for one, but for two, it's all these same people that are saying, well, art's not about money. It's not about the money. It's not about the commission. But then why are you mad about AI?
Right.
Is that gonna,
the funny thing,
why can't you just create art?
The funny thing is these guys, there's got to be a part of them that in their head they're like, hang on a second. I've been charging people $60 to draw, them Sonichu or whatever the fuck they're into. And now you, as just a guy who's never picked up a pencil in his life, can pay $20 to get a robot to draw you the same fucking thing. It's like they're getting the real thing they're angry about is they're getting priced out. They're being undercut.
Sure.
and it's not. I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any heart part of it for most of them. For the average.
But again,
artist.
so again, the confusion is here. When you type in a Pikachu farting, what comes out of that isn't art. But what they were doing also wasn't art. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's no art involved in this whole transaction. In either way you go. You know what I'm saying?
If you're able to pull this up. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I wanted to elaborate on what you just said, because it used to be this commie gobbledygook where it's like art for art's sake, right? That was their argument. And now they're like the corporate. What about we must protect the corporate copyright? How
it's
dare
forced their hand,
right?
Yeah.
So it's
it
just
forced their
they're
hand.
panicking. Yeah, they don't know. They don't know anymore which way to argue.
Now
I've been playing around.
Go ahead.
I've been playing around with the Chat GPT 4.0, and I don't know if you're able to pull this up, but the thing I just sent you on Twitter is completely. I'd say it's about 90% AI and 10% Photoshop. Me just kind of layering things together.
Right.
I think this kind of shows the power of what this. It gets the lettering right. It gets the flyer. Like this is just a quick flyer that I made.
I don't have anything in my. You sent it on Twitter? I don't have it in my DMs here.
Let's see if it's sent.
It might. Maybe it's still sending. Or something.
It's still sending. It's a pretty big file.
Okay, gotcha. I'll pull it up.
But
when
yeah,
I see
this is. It's kind of impressive. It's honestly kind of impressive for the. And my whole point in sending you this to tell you about this is there's a lot of designers that I knew that loved charging people $80 vector design fees, a $95 logo redrawing fee, just to make some really crappy flyers for someone who's doing body sculpting and needs it done really quickly. And those guys are mad now that someone can just go use AI and do it. And I've known quite a few of these different guys that are they're hacks, but that's their gig, and now they're mad that the lifeblood of their business is going to be taken away. So maybe you shouldn't have been screwing people. Maybe you should have been learning a real skill instead of designing flyers.
I've got it here. Here we go.
I will. Oh yeah, let's.
Here's the. Here's the image we were.
This is all. Look at the lettering. Look at that's AI. And this is just for because we do movie nights on the Discord. Look at that. It's not bad. It's something. It's something quick, for a flyer that I'm not going to really do anything with. I'm going to post it and then forget about it.
It is crazy good. And this is. I want to quickly say. Well, number one, let me just say this. I know all three of us are having some audio issues right now. Sven is literally inside of a volcano. So just to anybody out there who's like, oh, what is with the audio? We're aware of it. There's nothing we can do. Use AI to remove it after the fact, okay? Use your own AI tools to go in there and chop out each little pop and squeak. I want to quickly say, my personal opinion on the AI thing. As a guy who I thought until I was 24, 25 years old, that what I was going to do was either like illustration or animation or something like that. I mean, every day I had a drafting table and everything. I when I moved to New York City, I took all these fucking drawing tools and stuff. And then one day I was like, I'm just doing comedy now. And I just kind of gave it up. And I still enjoy drawing and I still do it every once in a while, but I really it's been a long time. It's something I haven't picked up in a long time. And the thing I find for me personally, like Sven, you probably have no connection to this feeling whatsoever. I would imagine. I would imagine that when you draw, that you're enjoying the process of drawing.
Yes, I would never give that up.
I just want the thing to be done, and I've always felt that way. And drawing for me was a means to an end to get a thing out of my head. Basically, it was to see the picture I wanted to see. I didn't enjoy the middle part. Sometimes I do. That's not entirely true. Sometimes I do, but for the most part. And then there are, entire mediums and skills and things that I'm never going to have, and I'll never have the time to sit there and learn them. But I can fully picture the end result of that thing in my head. So for me, the wonderful, the amazing, and the reason I do not hate AI, the thing I love about it is that, you know, so a lot like that poster we were just looking at, that's something where it's like, that's not a big deal. Like, you didn't need to put all of your effort into it. Had you put all of your effort into that, that would have been up to maybe 6 hours of work all told.
For me, that would probably have been about 2 days, just figuring out the grain and the shading,
right?
And just the layout. I'm very obsessive compulsive with my work, and that's a big point of it. Is I would say I'm probably somewhere in the middle ground between where you're at and where Sven is at. I can't tell you how many hours I have spent looking for references, looking for a skull that's 45 degrees down, looking down.
Yes,
I'm not one of those guys that can just draw stuff from my mind. This is just good for that, and that's the thing is I've never been an advocate, and I probably won't be an advocate for just fully going full bore AI. But with that flyer that I showed you, I couldn't have made that if it wasn't for my Photoshop ability as well. But about 90% of that was AI.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like the font, everything.
Same for tonight's thumbnail. By the way, I tried so hard to get the AI to just make the thumbnail entirely.
Look, so there you go. Look, there is a lot of utility and stuff like that, and thumbnails and posters and stuff like that, right? And again, look, here's the thing. Here's my vision on it, because of course I am very hopeful about AI becoming a good tool in the future for artists. Because I personally, and I hopped on early fucking around with Stable Diffusion and stuff like that. For me, it was more frustrating than anything else. And I have yet not been able to implement or integrate that into my workflow at all. So I basically don't use it at all. You know what I'm saying? But, and I will say this, just merely prompting and whatever AI shits out, if we're still talking about the definition of art, that's not art. It requires iteration and layering meaning into it and fucking around with it. And so you're refining your output and tinkering and draw. So I totally agree. Tools, and I see these tools now that are being developed where you can do like in drawing and it alters shit on the fly, and you go like, oh no, I want this to change, and then it becomes more of like an artist's tool, right? So I'm basically when I'm defending AI, it's sort of like on a future prospect where it will inevitably go. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think that when there's no human intent involved with creating an AI piece, then and yes, like I said, if you're not iterating on it and fucking around with it, then there's also no craft involved. Okay, and then it can never become art.
Right.
But in principle, it has all the ability to be used as a tool to create art. It's just obvious.
I use the AI thing to make the Miyazaki blasting himself in the head over all these stupid memes. Which by the way, I would argue that in your definition, Sven, of art, this is art. Just this alone, just the AI made thing.
No,
I would argue.
Look.
Here's the thing. No. Hang on. Let me defend this. Let me defend it.
Right then.
Don't just steamroll it, because you were fucking chatting my ear off in the DM about this, and you brought up specifically that classic thing of, and I love that you said it. The banana duct tape to the wall. This is
that thing.
This is the classic example for like a normie to be like, that's not art. And of course, that's the point of it. So the very
whole joke.
The very reaction of you doing that is what makes it art. If nobody, by the way, I'll say maybe the most artistic thing I've ever seen in my life was the guy who went up and took the banana off the wall and ate it. And then just
I think that might have been part of the performance, though.
That's probably the most art I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I would argue then, all I did was type in, Miyazaki, or I put in the picture of Miyazaki and I said, put a gun to his head and make him pull the trigger. And I would argue that because there is an intent behind this, and the intent is to comment on the meme and the filter and the entire argument about AI, that this has now transcended into the world of art by accident.
Well, look, it could look. I would have iterated on it more. I would have had his head actually explode because it's a flawed piece.
It doesn't let you. It doesn't let you do that on the AI.
Well, let's be honest. AI is the limitations of AI is the commentary to be made, is the fact that there is those limitations.
But that's not a limitation. That is not a limitation. The AI could do it. They've put up barriers.
That's true.
They've put up barriers.
Still a
in
limitation.
There. In fact, if they didn't put up those barriers, that's all it would be made. It would just be horrifying pornographic images and nothing else. It would end up instantly becoming.
I don't think you understand.
Batman
gaping. This is the consumer grade AI that you can quickly prompt something like this out. But actual AI guys that are fucking out with these stable diffusion models, if you go to these model websites where you can download the models, that's all it is. It's all cunts, pussy. Like as with everything, like Blu-ray technology. Remember that the porno industry led that technical revolution, and it often does. Porno, right? So if you look at these fucking AI models, they're all being trained, and all the innovations are being made on like realistic cock-sucking pussy penetration rendering. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yes, that is what it mostly is. But yes, you would have to actually put in a little bit of effort, which of course AI artists, prompters.
I feel like I was an AI artist when I made this. I listen. It took 2 prompts to get the blood to come out of his head. That's a lot of work, man. I will say, just to be clear, after 50 tries all day long to get it to render the 3 of us as AI, I ended up having to draw us myself. So I actually drew. This is my drawing here.
So there you go. I showed you, Jesse. I tried because this whole discussion about AI, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna fuck around with stable diffusion just to see if I can get it to color in my line art. And it took me like 3 fucking hours, and nothing close to anything usable. And I was like, okay, by this point, I could have painted 3 illustrations. You know what I'm saying?
But you're asking it,
and I would have had fun.
You're asking it to do something that it is not designed to do yet, or at least not in that medium, not in the system that you're using.
So if AI wants to be taken seriously and it wants to thwart all this fucking debate that's happening, it should actually focus on becoming a proper usable tool with a good interface and shit like that.
All right, I made with that said, I made a tweet yesterday saying this. Tell me what you think of this. I said, using synths and samples instead of instruments is basically AI music. Using Illustrator or Procreate instead of pencils and paint is basically AI art. Using Google instead of books is basically AI knowledge. There is, and obviously, whacking off to porn is basically AI having sex. So there is an element of, digital artistry and I know you use digital
This is the panic that
tools.
always happened, but this happened too. This happened when paint pigment came out. People were panicking. Okay, they're like, oh my god, we're gonna all go crazy now. We're gonna have colors. That's fucking nuts.
But you have to pick the colors and you have to put them on.
Okay, but then the photo camera came out.
Hang on a second though. This is missing the point. When you use, let's say, Illustrator or a similar vector program like that, it is you are not really drawing that line. Some of your intent and some of your accident, which gives certain art its beauty, is not in that line because it is smoothing it for you. And
all right, but the software I use is not vectorized art at all.
Okay, I'm using that as.
But I agree.
I'm using that as an example. Many art programs, many different apps
There's corrections for your vector line.
Exactly, especially for line art specifically. Because to use a touch screen or a tablet, it would be almost impossible otherwise, unless it was doing a little math and kind of figuring some stuff out. I would say that to some degree, it is removing some of that touch, some of that intent, some of that soul
Sure,
when you do that.
look, but again, look, that's it's medium specific, right? So when you're painting a traditional painting with acrylics, the whole point of that is that you're working with the medium and the materials, right? So there's going to be, you're molding, you're basically sculpting light. That's what you're doing. That's the difference between illustration. With illustration, you're making a convincing three-dimensional figure with lines, right? Which is a completely different medium than a painting wherein you're basically sculpting light. You know what I'm saying? And you're fucking
Sven,
around with the materials, yeah.
what would you need to happen to make AI a medium? Would it be to where you can like how what would it need to be, like what level would it need to be for it to become a medium is the question.
So
is that possible?
So couple of things. So for instance, as an animator, if there's an AI that can actually convincingly and properly create in between frames for my keyframes, right, which would speed up my creative process. So I'm still intimately creatively involved. It's still my complete artistic vision. It just fills in the blanks for me, like the in-between frames. That would be a major thing. And then on top of that, I should be able to iterate on it. Now, there's already some of these things happening. It's very crude. It's where you generate something with AI, and then you can, with your pen, go, okay, look, this eye is a little wonky. Can this be a little bit more like this? And so there needs to be a lot more iteration and layering, so that I can on the fly, put my creative intent into whatever's being generated.
Because that is kind of, with that flyer, that's what it gave me the basic picture of me, and then I laid the text over, and I organized it how I wanted it, and then ran it back through. I asked it to recreate the image exactly how I asked it to do. It recreated it, and I didn't like that, so I changed. I kind of moved things. I mean, it's really wonky. It's not there, and I'm not saying AI art is art, but it's getting close to where you can reiterate and then tell it to redo the image exactly how you asked it to, and then it'll redo it. But I think a big limitation is that it won't redo it perfectly. It'll change the proportions. It'll change the hand will be angled a little differently, so you're not in full control.
But so as an artist, I am used to having complete 100% full control to realize my vision. And with current AI image rendering, there is very little of that. Okay, the AI definitely takes the lead. And another thing is,
what do you think the time frame is going to be before it can do it?
We need to hook Sven up to a Neuralink.
Look, the thing is this: it needs to be. You're gonna have to, instead of like tech dorks, you're gonna have to have artists that help the tech guys out to create these. But here's the funny thing. So the software that I use is Clip Studio Paint. I love that way more than Photoshop. I replaced Photoshop completely. Clip Studio Paint, which is a Japanese company, I think, it's basically like industry standard for like comic book creation. They had a plan to integrate like diffusion models into the software, and then the artists protested against it, and they listened to the customer and they decided not to go with it, right? So because artists are being so they're so afraid of this new technology at this moment in time that it's actually impacting the development of it in a certain way, and and other people are running away with it at this point in time.
Well, and another thing is, it's one of the reasons that I hate communities or the art world is they found a way to gatekeep. Every community has a level of gatekeeping nowadays, and I think that's what we're seeing is these people who are mid at best, mad that they now can't gatekeep some sort of fan art community because they spent all this time learning to make pretty pictures, and they're mad that now someone could just come into their Reddit and be like, hey, look at this Dragon Ball Z Rick and Morty thing I did. And they're like, well, you can't do that. I had to spend 10 years in my mom's basement learning how to do that. And they're mad. And you know what I mean? That's really what I think the uproar is right now. It's not about art.
That is the uproar. And then there's the confusion about the definition of art, because neither is art. Neither is art. What they're doing wasn't art, isn't art, will never be art. And then the guy coming in with a more prettier rendered Goku based on some Korean artist's machine learned version of it also isn't art. And that's the thing. So AI, when we say AI art or AI generators, it's a tool that could potentially be used by talented people to create art. Okay. But in order for that to happen,
and is being used to do it.
Perhaps. Look, I'm not going to deny that. You know what I'm saying? I haven't really seen anything too interesting. It's all kind of like it's in a very rudimentary phase. It's kind of sloppy and crappy, and it's very yeah, goy sloppy. Oh, look at this! It's Lord of the Rings, but it's fucking Ghibli. Like that's not art. It's just
I find it interesting though that you know. By the way, I do feel like I've softened you on the AI a little bit in our exchanges. I've shown you a few things. I showed you a few things, and you started playing with it a little bit while I was talking to you, and that sounds weird.
Okay, look, yeah, okay. Look, I will say this has reignited my interest a little bit in it, but I was very early on, like 3 years ago. I was fucking.
No, I know.
Because I need, but here's the thing: the reason why is because I need to. Because it's. I mean, look, people need to understand this. This is a new industrial revolution. You understand? You need to know about this shit. If you cover your eyes and run away scared, you're gonna fucking take the L. You understand? And the way
you can't stand still really hard. The earth will just keep spinning.
Yeah, and here's the thing: like I am excited about the prospect of it, so I want to learn about it. You know what I'm saying? But at this point in time and time again, it's just that the process itself, it's just not there yet for an artist like me. You know what I'm saying? It can't really help me in my workflow or my pipeline or whatever you call that. You know what I'm saying? Not yet.
I do find it interesting though that you do say like, oh yeah, I would love to use it for tweening in animation because in between in animation, which is of course like the most annoying part of animating something.
And I would love it if it could color my fucking frames.
See, that's fascinating because that's a microcosm of what I'm saying when I say I like the idea that I could just think of a thing and then it exists because I said it. And I didn't have to do the in-between.
When you have to go and sit through and click, fill in and color like 50 fucking things.
Yeah, I know, that sucks.
That's not... The first time you do it, you're picking the colors for your character design. That's a creative process, but then it becomes a menial fucking task.
I'm very aware.
There's no creativity involved.
I find a lot of these things to be menial tasks, though. Now that's for me. Again, I said at the beginning of this, I'm sure you enjoy because you love drawing this stuff. A lot of times, the things I'm doing art-wise are for the show. And so I need it to be it's a means to an end. I need it to exist.
Yeah.
And oftentimes,
if you want to make thumbnails and stuff like that and posters and shit like that.
I like making thumbnails though. Ironically, I do like making thumbnails and I spend about 12 hours on them usually.
Me too. Yeah. You saw after you showed me that trick, I used that for the Art is Dead thumbnail that I did. And, that's the thing is I do graphic design. I use Adobe Fresco with just the circular point tip. I just draw from there. And if I was going to drop something like for my product, if I was going to drop merchandise, I would never use AI. Maybe for reference, if I wanted some sort of reference, put it somewhere into my workflow, but the byproduct would never be AI generated. Probably not even 10% of it would be. You know what I mean? But for now that I'm doing the Patreon and the YouTube, the flyers it's fun for the flyers. It's fun for the thumbnails. Other than that, and that's the funny thing is a lot of people I don't really think are understanding how powerful it really is, even at this stage right now, to be able to make that flyer that would have taken me probably 3 days to figure out. Because that's not my art style. I would have had to done it in a completely different art style and figure how to do that,
Look, these diffusion models, the technology, all that shit is already there. It's just the user interface, the UI, and how you interact with it, ease of use, and look. If you're an artist, you're intimately knowledgeable about the second to second, because that's what I'm talking about too. When I talk about art, is not the end product; it is the act of creation. And within the actor, I've talked about this so many times. My audience that's tuning in is fucking gagging themselves with a spoon at this point. But it's the act of creation and discovery. I'll leave it at that real quick. And you need to have that element when you're working or using AI as an effective tool. And some of the things that I said, like again, like within painting and stuff like that, that's where it needs to go. And it just needs to iterate on the UI design, and then think it's going to be a very powerful thing, and especially for menial tasks.
I do think this stuff is going to get good enough that you will not be able to tell the difference very, very soon. But let's take a look at this Phil Tomato video you shared, which is insane. Just take a look at this.
Ghibli is more than just an art style. Just because AI can slap a Ghibli desktop theme to an image or a video doesn't mean artists are cooked. You're missing the point. The reason why Hayao Miyazaki is popular is because his values and the stories resonate with people and it inspires them. I became an artist partly because I saw Princess Mononoke in the theaters when I was little. Without Miyazaki, I probably wouldn't be an artist. I would never be Phil Tomato.
Oh no!
This message goes out to the people who do
Imagine we missed out on Phil Tomato, everybody's favorite Courage the Cowardly Dog drawer. By the way, I love that. It's so fucking funny.
That's the whole point of this. Listen, the last sentence of this video is you're gonna flip.
Respect artists, man, especially Hayao Miyazaki. That's all we want. Without people like Hayao Miyazaki in the world, there would be Ghibli-inspired AI to copy off of. And don't say artists are cooked. No, we're not. We can use AI. We just choose not to because we respect the craft. To those who want to make a proper tribute to...
He respects the craft! Look at the fucking shit he's drawing!
Hayao Miyazaki, just draw it.
Just for there's audio-only people out there. Just for the audio-only people. At the bottom of this is like one of those TikTok subway rider style videos where at the bottom there's a whole other video playing, but it's his artwork. He's creating something, but quote unquote his artwork, and you can literally see where I've paused it here that he's tracing from other images.
Yes,
he is tracing Cartoon Network characters. He's got
that's that nigga Samurai Jack.
Yes. By the way, first of all, you should describe the above frame. The artist is this dysgenic freak, weird, creepy, inbred mongrel. Yeah. And he's doing this little poignant, tearjerker, emotional tribute to Miyazaki. He thinks.
Yes.
And then at the bottom, there's a time lapse of him creating a quote unquote work of art, which we have established is not art; it's a pretty picture. And it's an amalgamation of other pre-established corporate-owned characters, IPs, that are sitting inside the Spirited Away train.
Let's point out
Adventure Time.
Yeah, Adventure Time, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Ben 10, Samurai Jack.
He is AI. He is a human AI.
Yes.
That's what you know what I'm saying?
Now let's take a quick look, though. Make sure you notice that in his little workstation here, just himself, he's got the Sonichu, which is like, listen, I jokingly said this. I didn't even realize that this guy had Sonichu for real in this video. You know, Sonichu was made by Chris Chan, the craziest, most insane lol cow of all time. And of course, Sonichu is the epitome of this thing we're talking about here, where Chris Chan is so autistic and so not artistic that he took Sonic the Hedgehog and Pikachu, smashed them together and said, I've created life. Arise, rise, it's alive. And he thought he created a new IP that somehow Sega and Nintendo would have to come to him and shake hands together. This is before they had worked together. And they would have to, legally accept this as a real thing now. Sonichu. Yeah. It's the most autistic version of fan art that has ever existed. He thinks he's above it. He has this ironically on a mic flag, and you can even see it's got the Chris Chan shirt colors behind it. He's going that deep with it. This dude thinks that that's not what he's doing. He's literally mashing together characters in a fucking art piece here. The only difference, you know what the difference is actually? Here's the difference. Chris Chan at least was creative enough to make them one character. They did a fusion dance, and technically speaking, he did make something new out of it. This dude is doing a collage.
Yeah,
that's
it's
not
transformative.
To say that's not to say that Chris Chan's comic series is probably one of the greatest examples of outsider art.
Yes,
it's a masterpiece. It's you know, but yes,
him sucking on the big straw. That's my favorite. My favorite drawing on earth. And by the way, you know what I need to do? I need to see if AI can replicate that drawing. Hang on a second. If you guys, do you know what I'm talking about? Chris Chan straw. It's my favorite drawing to ever exist. Oh man, where is it? Can I find just
well?
The
and
picture?
At least Chris Chan isn't browbeating me on a TikTok.
Yes,
he's not fucking.
Yeah, take a look at this. This is a real Chris Chan drawing. It's just him. It's just him enjoying a nice drink at the soda jar.
He drew this when he was 35 or whatever.
Yeah.
This is gonna be in a museum.
Yeah. So here's what I'm gonna do while we finish out this video. I'm going to see if ChatGPT can
make a Ghibli version.
Let me restyle Studio Ghibli anime.
This guy looks like Vote for Pedro.
Yeah.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, he does.
I've been trying to put my finger on it this whole time.
But look at it. He's wearing a Legend of Zelda T-shirt, by the way.
Is that?
Yep, that's a Zelda T-shirt. It's got the Triforce at the top. It says "I am Legend," which is a reference to another.
That's funny.
By the way, that's 2 references, and I believe it's meant to sort of look like one of those ugly Christmas sweaters. So there's like.
And by the way, it is one of the things that I pointed out in the outrage that these people have for people copying the Ghibli style. When Zelda Breath of the Wild came out, which is 100% aping Studio Ghibli, not just the art style, the music, and even the themes that are being discussed within the game. Nobody had a problem. None of these guys had a problem with that. They just gobbled up that goy slop.
You know, the creative director made them all the designers watch every Studio Ghibli movie to come out with that.
Yeah. There you go. You know, so that's funny too. He's wearing Zelda.
He's got a little mic flag that says it's spam. It looks like a spam thing. It's like everything is a reference to these people. That's comedy.
I don't think these people have
art.
ever heard the word derivative in their life.
No.
Well, they heard it. They just didn't know what it meant.
It's not in their vernacular.
No. Okay. So here's what I'm gonna do, Sven. If the AI can replicate, this is all I need. All right. If you've never seen the image of Chris Chan before, the straw that he is sucking on is so inhumanly gigantic. It's you have to wonder how even an autistic guy could fuck it up that bad. If the AI can replicate even, a 1/10 of that power, I'll be happy with it. Okay.
It's going to make it into like a sewer pipe or something.
All I did was make it Ghibli style. Let's take a look here. So we've got.
Let's see if it retains that. Yeah.
We've got.
That artistic choice.
Here's the original. One more time. Here's the original. And then.
It's going to make him vomit blood or something.
Here is the Ghib. Oh, come on. Boo.
I mean, it is kind of amazing, though, the way this shit works.
It's incredible.
That it even figured out that that's supposed to be a seppuku.
The fact that it understood even basic parts of what's happening in this image.
Yeah, that's nuts.
You know what's crazy? I just thought of this. Somebody should take the Chris Chan Sonichu comic, the entire thing, go through it and redo it in AI and make it like why not Sonic comic book style, basically? Like,
I think they should make it like realistic with like real images, like train a model on what the real people look like and stuff that he's referencing.
What would I say to make it realistic in the Chat GPTs?
Cinematic, real, hyper-realistic.
Hyper-real, cinematic,
Christian Western Chandler. They probably can pull up a reference on that guy.
All right, I'll see if it'll do that. Did we finish it? We didn't finish the video. Let's finish the video.
No, the last part is awesome.
As it should be. If an old man like Hayao Miyazaki can draw thousands of drawings for his movies, surely you can do one drawing, right? What do you think about my tribute to Studio Ghibli down below? This took me over a week to make. It's not perfect, but it's mine.
It's yours?
No, it isn't.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Oh God.
The last
Not
thing
perfect,
on
it's mine.
earth this image is yours.
Yeah, try selling that on a shirt. You're gonna get a cease and desist from Disney, Marvel, Cartoon Network.
Well,
Everybody's
this
gonna
is
be
the
on
crazy
that.
thing. Every once in a while, I'll get tricked into watching some slop on YouTube where, it's like one of those channels talking about fucking pop culture big movie of the week or whatever. And they all, like, these YouTubers are so fucking brazen, man. They sell t-shirts. And Faceless, I feel like you'll be able to feel me on this one as a fellow shirt seller and apparelsman. They sell these shirts that have copyrighted characters and stuff on them, or like clearly influenced by.
It's something I talk a lot about is the logo flipping, and that's the big thing to do is logo flip, and it's been perverted to the point of where now they're just taking copyrighted characters and flipping them maybe to look a little bit like the merch seller's likeness, but they're just selling it straight up and just shamelessly selling it. The logo flipping is ridiculous. It's hilarious.
I saw a thing where they were selling whatever the latest Marvel like Daredevil.
Yeah.
There's a Daredevil TV show out now. So they're like, buy our Daredevil shirt. It's like, are you fucking partnered with Marvel? This YouTube channel?
What is that? That's so embarrassing, too.
And it's like, it's a fucking drawing of Daredevil with like, they've done.
Not your guy.
It's insane. And Daredevil, like superheroes wear a logo, right? Like every Superman's got his S. Daredevil's got those double D's, which not the ones I'm looking for, but fine. They've drawn the Daredevil logo. That's a logo. Yeah. Like if there was Nike Man, I don't think anybody would be dumb enough to put the swoosh on their homemade t-shirt to do it and try to sell it, but they're doing it. And I swear to God, I think that the guys like Phil Tomato here, who I've never heard of before, but I think these guys think that this type of quote unquote art is okay because they're just seeing this all. This is a Twitch guy. He's on a platform that thinks it's, commentary to play someone else's video and then get up and go order DoorDash. Like,
and they're playing Fortnite all day, which has like every single IP running around together,
right?
Doing little dances.
Yeah, I mean, literally playing a video game on a stream, by the way, is just stealing. I've always thought this. How is that? How is you sitting there enjoying the game silently as you play a video game? How is that legal? That's just what you're supposed to do you're supposed to do that in the privacy of your own home and never tell anybody about it. That should be a secret.
And I love when you come out and you say something like that and they get it all up in arms. And it's like the most controversial opinion to ever say something like that. Like, and you're really just all you're doing is playing a video game, but they treat it like
I played the
art.
last Assassin's Creed, but I wanted to spare people that have to pay money for that piece of shit, and I of course wanted to showcase all the cultural hypocrisy.
Yeah, Sven has been streaming video games recently.
but I'll tell you this: if I want to play a video game in private, I feel like I'm wasting my time.
That's
I might as
true.
well make it into work, basically.
Well, that's obviously, all these streamer guys, that is what they're doing, but I legitimately,
but I'm not playing the game. I'm literally running around with a black guy going ooga ooga booga.
I don't know.
Booga,
I think you're. Listen, you might think they did a bad job of making that game and it was too woke. But there's a lot of people worked in that game, and I do feel like you're stealing their art by streaming it.
I guess.
Yeah, I tuned into that. I don't.
That's true.
I'm so not into video games. I tuned into one of Sven's streams. He's playing this thing. He's running around as like a naked Asian lady. I was like, don't you get enough of that at home? But he's running around as a naked Asian lady. And my first comment is, what is this, a video game? I feel like people need to start doing this to people. You need to start, when somebody's just streaming a video game, you need to go into their chat and be like, what are you doing? What is this, like a game? Okay, yeah.
You're playing a game with them?
What is that?
Yeah,
Like,
but it's odd because you're not allowed to do it with movies. And nowadays, most of these games are basically glorified films. You know, it's like a storyline. You're just pressing X once in a while. It's kind of odd how it's allowed with a game, but not with like, you can't really stream movies. Or you can't already doing that too.
I think, well, no, you're not. Well, yeah, some people do actually do that on Twitch and shit, but I think they like struck a deal with these video game companies and stuff to allow, because I do remember early on there being a big thing about how this is violating copyright.
I'm just remembered of something. I don't know the exact fucking vernacular they use, but I've heard people kind of try to justify that the gameplay is like emergent. And they own that because it's their actions or something like that. And there was even like problems where other game players would copy strike guys that would have used their clips in a review. Like, that's my gameplay you're using.
Yeah, because they're in control of their medium.
I actually ran into that.
This is crazy. That's fucking
I actually
retarded.
ran into that once. I used I was like, okay, I need to visualize this video game on screen for this thing that I'm talking about. It was absolutely transformative. And in fact, I did quite a bit of other things to it as well. But I got a copyright strike for showing this dude who it's just his particular play of Mortal Kombat. And I got in trouble for that. And they didn't say like, oh, you're in trouble with Mortal Kombat Studios or whatever. No, I was in trouble. I was in trouble with Greg 0391 for
you stole his art.
Yeah,
and tried to profit off of it.
The beautiful thing he made. That is, I guess that is kind of a good analog for AI, though, is just uploading video game footage is kind of the same thing. I'm not joking, by the way. I tried to turn the Chris Chan straw image into a hyper real image, and ChatGPT is telling me that breaks their policies.
Yes,
they know what's up.
So in their mind, they rendered this childlike anime character sucking on a straw, and the ChatGPT robot said, "This is basically a guy sucking a cock." But anyway, here's your anime child doing it. And now that it's going to be a real one, they're like, okay, even we draw the line here.
Another example of ChatGPT having more integrity than these Twitter artists.
True. Rule 34 is out. All right, so I'll see though. I'm gonna try one more time to get it to do that.
I would love to see more like of these types of guys getting outraged, because that's the fun part of this. Like these dysgenic losers.
I would too. That series of guys just drawing other people's art's hands.
Yeah, they don't understand. They just don't understand the hypocrisy even. And I think that is due to the fact that the definition of art is so muddled. Now I hope they at least did a little bit of a job here to define it a little bit more.
I want to create.
Someone needs to show that guy what his art would look like if it was Studio Ghibli. I'd really like to see his reaction to that.
Yes, I want. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to. All right, I was originally gonna say, wouldn't it be funny to take that montage of all the hands with the styluses and do a version of it where it's all the foot of those characters, like I'm just some sort of foot fetish freak. And it's just cycling through all the different, a Ninja Turtle's feet and then Sonic's foot or whatever.
I think ChatGPT has too much integrity to create.
Probably so. That's probably against their policy. But yeah, maybe Ghiblify every single one of those images and then put it into that meme.
What would be awesome is if you took that guy's art and then you Ghiblified it and then you sold it on a shirt. He would have an aneurysm. I might even just do that to piss him off.
You should.
That would be amazing.
Please do that. Well, I'm currently doing something similar to that where, I've joined, this is crazy. And Sven, you can bow your head down during this part if you need to.
Okay, disavow. I'm not part of it.
So I'm now part of something called FACELESS. I don't know if you know about this, man. Do you know what Comicsgate is?
No.
Okay, so Comicsgate is this fake. You know what Gamergate is? You heard of Gamergate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So get a glass of water.
So I never knew anything about Gamergate because I didn't really play video games, right? But there's apparently a version of it for comic books called Comicsgate. And Sven
they're in arms.
Sven is getting up right now because it was started by this real comic book artist who worked for the big companies and everything. this guy called Ethan Van Sciver, and Sven is friends with him, so that's why he's leaving the room. But I accidentally got tied up in this Comicsgate thing, and I'm now selling. Apparently, Ethan Van Sciver trademarked the term Comicsgate, and originally it was this grassroots sort of movement to try to get like woke shit and politics shit out of comic books. But then, of course, it became just the conservative version of that. You know, they just do the exact same cringe shit, but from the other direction.
As they do.
Yeah, every time. And so Ethan Van Sciver decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to copyright this grassroots thing that already exists. I'm going to trademark it. And now everybody who wants to be a part of it has to go through me. And so he trademarked it in a specific font and everything, Comicsgate. I made fun of him on a stream recently, and it's become this whole deal where I called him the throat goat because there's this rumor that he sucked off a guy behind a dumpster at a pizza place one time after a Comic-Con. It's a rumor. It's a rumor. But anyway, so I now sell Comics Goat t-shirts that are in the exact same font and, you know, logo style.
Nice.
As his. So this is something that I've now dipped my toes into. Podawful.shop, by the way, if you want a Comics Goat shirt. But the reason I bring this up is I decided, well, you know what? I used to draw comics and stuff for myself. I thought that might be an avenue that I go into one day for my artistic outlet. And this has sort of, reinvigorated all this stuff in me.
You're getting emotional.
I am, because, you know, as much as I've been playing with this AI stuff, I've been getting back into true, real art. And I've decided to dip my toe into making comic books. Sven, I hope you don't mind.
That's fine by me.
I'm hoping I can make a comic book that is, you know, on the level of a Butch Killigan.
One day you'll get there.
This is, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have this done within a couple months at maximum. This is Pod Awful's Cyber Frog. And
wait, I thought you were going to do Star Killer or something.
I have a whole universe of characters that we're working on here. But here is Pod Awful's Cyber Frog. There's also a character called Throat Goat. There's also a character called Stream Killer. We're going to be putting out all of these comics, and we're going to be putting them out, by the way, before a lot of other creators manage to get their comic books out. But this is Pod Awful Cyber Frog, issue number 1. The cover is done. We're working on the interiors. This is a beautiful, beautiful cover. And so this will be on sale very soon. And I pledge, by the way, 100%, I pledge, very, very little AI art will be used.
Very little.
Very, very little. In the making of this, to get it out on time, to beat those deadlines, 0 3D assets used. 0 photoshopping city backgrounds that I pulled off of Google Images and then just quickly put a Photoshop filter over. 0 of that. And extremely small amounts of AI art will make it into the final product.
Now, of course, I will say I completely disavow any of this. We can move on.
Why is that?
Yeah, just, you know, it might be working with some people.
Okay. Well, listen, I don't have any animosity toward anybody, you know, in the Comicsgate scene or anything. In fact, I think a lot of the people that are part of it are really, truly, when it comes to comic books, they're the GOAT.
Yeah.
But I am dipping my toe. We will be selling these comics soon. Is it hard, Sven? Is it hard to get comics, you know, like printed and shipped to people?
Published? It's quite hard. I don't know if you've paid attention to the crowdfunding scene.
Yeah.
Not many get actually printed and sent.
Okay, so what I mean?
Would say 90% of all Kickstarter crowdfunded.
How much is it going to cost me to do? Let's say just print, I don't know, 200 of these things. Let's say
200, and then look, you'd have to do a crowdfund, and then just think that like 75% is going to go into like printing and fulfillment, and then you know, you'll keep a little chunk there.
Okay, so
not really worth it if you're not really.
This might be a digital release. Guys, we're doing a digital release for these guys. I'm still going to do a Kickstarter by an Indiegogo. I'm still going to do an Indiegogo because you get to keep the money no matter what on the Indiegogo. I'm going to do the Indiegogo, and we are going to do a digital release for the Indiegogo. We just need your funds to get that going, and it'll be a lot of fun. But anyway, back to AI art. Let's get back on topic here. I do think that this stuff, you know, I look at it, a lot of this complaining about it. Obviously, the dudes who are going like, I'm an AI artist, where I'm a prompt artist, I'm making my own art. These guys that are taking like the Lord of the Rings trailer and redoing it in Ghibli style and all that stuff. It's impressive, but the AI is what's impressive in it. It's not, they haven't done anything. Obviously, I agree with all that. I do, however, think that this argument that like, oh, it's just not there and it can't get hands right and it does the wrong number of fingers, and every single time I try to prompt it to do faceless, it confuses his mask for green skin and makes him a frog.
Yeah.
That is a tough one. But I do think that it is so quickly going to get, like if you think back to what AI was 5 years ago, you would never think it was capable of what it's capable of now.
Yeah, but it's going to be, what you're saying is it's going to get more capable of making pretty pictures. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
yes, that's true.
Maybe. Now, first of all, I want to ask you guys this. Do you think that it is stealing, that the AI itself is stealing because it's trained on, you know, all these images that they never had the rights for and stuff? I saw people in the chat room earlier talking about this. Is it stealing?
It's difficult to say. Well, do you want to go first, Faceless, or do you have thoughts on that? Because I sort of already.
I don't have as many thoughts on it as stealing as what we've already talked about. It's all the people that are claiming that it's stealing are the people whose art is derivative and a carbon copy of someone else's style already. So it's like the commentary that I like to make more than anything is, what does that affect if someone is making something in Studio Ghibli? Like, you know what I mean? What does it mean? You know, what does stealing mean when 99% of, well, I'd say 90% of all artists nowadays are just doing derivative carbon copies of some Globo-Homo corporate Memphis bullshit? You know, like, what is it? It's all those people.
By the way, AI is really bad at making Globo-Homo corporate Memphis art.
I just learned that today.
Yeah, I tried forever getting it to make shit in that art style a while ago, and it sucked. You would think that's the first thing it would know how to do.
That's interesting.
Not good at it at all. Maybe Facebook and all these companies knew something about this AI that we didn't understand.
Look, you want to hear what I think about that part, the stealing part, the actual copyright part. Here's the thing. So just to focus on Miyazaki and Ghibli real quick as the example, because people were saying that they were sending out cease and desists or something because of this to like GPT and stuff like that. And then if you think about it, the argument stands and falls. Like, let's say they ban the prompt Studio Ghibli. If you're able to prompt it in such a way using different influences to get the Studio Ghibli style, then the whole argument falls away, because Miyazaki himself, as any artist, was influenced by things like the reason that the Ghibli style looks so unique is because Miyazaki himself was very much influenced by European Franco-Belgian art, by Mobius, and then classic manga, and then that became sort of an amalgamation to what you see currently as like Ghibli style.
And of course, the manga and anime before that was also influenced by Disney. And stuff
like I say, like classic manga. So then that becomes the Studio Ghibli style. So if you can amalgamate, let's say they ban the term Studio Ghibli and they get rid of that model, but you can create a model out of their influence and basically create the thing again. Then that's it. That's the end of the argument.
Yeah, that's the way I've always looked at it, is like, what is the difference between it, you know, looking at Google Images and learning off of those images, and also a guy doing that, which is what every single dude drawing now is doing. you're hitting up Google Images at some point to figure out what some sort of thing looks like, or literally just copy and pasting it and then figuring out how to draw it or whatever.
Now, of course, look, it does become. Let's say, like we all agree, it's shitty to then people sell and monetize, like we just talked about with these logos and the characters on shirts and stuff like that. Now, let's say somebody trains a model on my art, and then starts selling Butch Gilligan 3 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? That would be shitty, right?
Well, for you, for me, it would be for Pod Awful Comics. It would be really, really good. Actually.
Yeah, and anybody who has, sure, but you know what I'm saying. So, all jokes aside, that's where it does become a problem. So, I do think there is something to say about like copywriting, about the copyright issue. Like, but I don't think that's happening right now. I don't think that's what the outrage is about. Like, nobody right now is making like an AI generated animated quote unquote movie in the Ghibli style and attempting to sell that as their own or something like that. That's just not happening. And I don't think that could happen. You know what I'm saying?
What if someone's patient enough to go frame by frame of a movie and make it into Studio Ghibli style and then lay it all onto a timeline?
There is a guy who again was doing that with the trailer for Lord of the Rings recently. It's maybe not the entire movie, but pretty fucking close.
I want to ask Sven. I have a new business that I'm opening up, and the business is that I am an AI artist, and I'm accepting commissions actually. So I'll generate you about 5 AI art images with as many reiterations as you want for about $10. Do you think I'll be successful in my business? Do you think that'll be a good business model?
I mean, for the time being, now that
do you think that's ethical?
Is it ethical? I mean, no. You're providing a service for a task that's already there, and there's just such a hurdle for people to get into it. I think that's fine. You know what I'm saying? You're just there's a lot of people still who are either too lazy. Like you can see this in the threads where everybody's going, oh, look, it's Pulp Fiction in Studio Ghibli. It's this in Studio Ghibli. And then there's more people going, can you do this one? Can you do this one? So if you can provide that
I had when I started posting shit both in the Ghibli and the Will Vinton claymation style on Twitter, I had multiple people coming to me going, can you make this into that? And I was like, well, don't you have $20? Can't you fucking
lucrative
do it?
Business.
It takes 2 seconds, but yeah, maybe. These
artists are not looking at that business model. They're scared. People who are not even making money on their commissions aren't realizing that they can just go full AI artist and make it a business. Right now,
I think that's the thing that Sven hates the idea of the most. AI artist. I think that's exactly what
I'm not a fan of that, obviously. Especially
just
those
the term
guys.
alone.
I'm actually you don't know how difficult it is to come up with a prompt. It's like, yes, you're not an artist.
I agree with those guys, to be honest. It is hard to come up with a prompt.
Cool. Even if you're able to make
I had to ask the AI
still not art.
You're just very communicative.
What I do is I ask the AI to come up with the prompt for me, so that I can get a good generation out of it, because otherwise
you're outsourcing even the prompting to AI. That's
smart. Well, I asked Grok to do it, and then Grok send it to Chat GPT.
That's like cheating, dude.
Sorry, man. I just it's all I know now. Well, all right. So
I do think we're all going to become completely retarded, basically.
100%. I'm there. I'm already there. I was retarded before. I'll tell you this, you
don't even have to think anymore.
Most of what I do is in Photoshop, and Photoshop has AI shit in it now. I used to have to sit there and for 6 hours, painstakingly remove something from an image where I have to clone and invent and sometimes even straight up draw in things to remove other things and stuff. And now you can just click on shit and make it disappear. And then you can, lasso a certain section of an image and just say, I want there to be a skull here. And it'll just do it. It was put. Who knows where that fucking skull came from? By the way, probably.
Now, I can't imagine you're paying for a Photoshop subscription over there.
Are you insane? Yeah. No, I pay.
Have you ever paid for any sort of software?
I pay for the full Adobe suite. I'm not joking.
It is well worth it now.
Yes, 100%.
No,
And I have for
generative fill has saved my life.
I have for 5 years, but I also write it off of my taxes, so it's like, you know,
Sure.
it's a write off.
No, I would never.
I have to. I have to do it.
Is that I think generationally in the next few decades, the young artists they're not going to know the struggle, like how you just said, going pixel by pixel and really trying to figure out how to make something look like something else. They're not going to understand that struggle, you know, because it's all just going to be streamlined for them. So is that going to mean that they're going to make better art? Is it going to be lazier art? Is it going to
way worse?
It's going to so it is downhill from here, essentially, right?
Yeah,
well,
as
I
all
think,
things have been and are and will be. Yes.
It's
very, very true.
First of all, what you're going to see is studios are going to full like have you seen that one? That might be worth looking into. I don't know if you have to pull it up, but it was like the first fully AI animated kids film came out, right? And it's complete fucking garbage, all right? But it has like a ton of views. The dumb retards will gobble it up. The parents will put this on the iPads for their kids. And yeah, the studio heads go, oh, look, a full feature-length AI film costs $50K to make instead of like 50 million. Yeah, sign me up. You know what I'm saying? And it's all going to be garbage. All right? It's all going to be the biggest fucking crap. Because what we're going to do, we are going to put the writers room, as John Kay tried to prevent, we're going to empower those hacks. The HR department and the writers room are going to have full control, and therefore it's the indie scene should actually flourish. But
yeah, exactly.
As you can see,
because of that, the actual true, it is now going to be based on meritocracy more than ever, because like you said, the indie scene is going to flourish. There's going to be a new need for true artists.
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I think human-made art, good actual art. It's just the thing. We live in an age apparently where even people don't even understand the definition of art. They don't even know what they're doing. They're trying to argue against copyright infringement AI while themselves being the human embodiment of copyright infringement. It's just complete retardation. There is no real artistry happening, even in the galleries. They're filled with protest art, activism, which also isn't art, by the way. Activism is not art. That's an ad. You know what I'm saying? It's just we're devoid of any true artistry or any real voices.
What if I took a big fucking shit and I duct taped it to the wall though? Yeah, it's amazing, right? No, you know, Faces earlier.
It would only be art if someone came up and ripped it off the wall and ate it.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's part of the performance, and I'm going to have to do it. Although maybe I could program a robot to do it. Faceless earlier, I think it was you that said like, you know, what these guys are really mad about is that they're not able to gatekeep this stuff anymore. Yeah. But I actually do think that gatekeeping is good. And the whole 100%. Gatekeeping is necessary and good. And the reason for that is exactly your question a second ago, which is like, is everything going to get worse? And it reminds me of when they started saying with like editing, right? Like, the iMac and Final Cut is making it so that anybody can edit. And then on your phone, now you can edit on your phone. You can shoot a movie on your phone. Mm-hmm. And it's like, who's done that and it was good? Like 3 guys maybe?
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, there's tons of people who make really great stuff for the internet and shit by editing on their computers, obviously. But how many more of them are shit? How many more of them are absolute
infinitely
garbage?
More. Infinitely.
It's never ending. And
gatekeeping is good when it's merit based, though. Not when it's like you're in your own little Reddit community bubble where the mods ban anyone who has any actual sort of skill or talent or vision. You know what I mean? And that's what the gatekeeping is all this big group of people who, if you don't agree with their politics or if you're critical of their art or anything, you just get banned from the community.
Yeah, but that's why gatekeeping works.
Difference.
Like these nerd cultures, they complain about everything getting destroyed, about Warhammer having like black and gay lesbians in it. Yeah, they should have gate-kept all women and gays and blacks out of their community, and that problem wouldn't have happened. You know what I'm saying? The same thing with the game industry. So in the game industry, and I recognize this when I was working at a studio, by the way, because it was like, you know what, this really is like a cock fest in here. We needed some feminine energy in here, right? And they started hiring women. Guess what? The entire culture fucking sucked overnight when these fucking broads were in the studio. No more jokes were really being made. Everybody's kind of more awkward. These nerds.
Everyone's on edge.
Yeah,
and then you have there's three guys that's just trying their hardest to figure out how to fuck them the whole time, so the workflow is messed up.
That's where all the energy goes now.
Putting all like puzzle pieces in their head to say all the right things.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, there is definitely
they should have prompted an AI to tell them how to do it.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Yeah. Wait. Hang on a second. Let me ask ChatGPT real quick. ChatGPT, how do I talk to a girl? Okay. Talking to a girl is just like talking to anyone. Comes down to being yourself, being respectful, and showing genuine interest. Yeah, this is retarded. Okay, but now tell me how to do it if I didn't live in a fairy tale land where women aren't retarded. All right, I hear the frustration, but let's dial it back just a bit. I should have asked Grok. Grok would have answered that.
I think ChatGPT is a woman.
Yeah, it does. It does feel a little more.
That was
feminine.
passive aggressive.
Grok would have answered that 100%. Grok's a bro. I ask Grok shit all the time. Grok's actually awesome.
Like, Grok comes in, he goes, "All right, here's what you do." He just
Grok. I will ask Grok shit like, you know, there's this guy Mersh that I make fun of on the show, and I'll be like, "Hey Grok, what's the likelihood percentage-wise that Mersh is secretly a gay guy?" And then it'll be like, well, by judging from online rhetoric, and then I'll be like, no, just cut to the chase, percentage. And then it's like 70. 70 gives a percentage. It's crazy. Okay, awesome. So I wanted to talk about this. I believe, you know, I talked to Sven about this a little bit. Sven, you remember Facials? Do you recall that the old, what was it called? Deep Dream? What was it called, Sven? The old Google?
What was that called again? Yeah, that was the early diffusion models that looked like peacock feathers.
That original, somebody in chat will know, that original AI thing where every time you generated something off of it, it looked like, like a peacock was like, and it always had dog faces in it. Everything looked like an acid trip. I wish I could remember what it was called, but it had.
What is a deep, something deep? Yeah,
I'm positive it had the word dream in it. This is the thing. You know what? This whole idea, by the way, it came to me in a dream. I've realized now. I keep doing this. Anytime anybody asks me anything, anytime they ask me how I know something, anytime they ask me for advice, I tell them now that it came to me in a dream. And you're allowed to just do anything and say anything if you say that, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it. But now it's actually becoming true, where I do have these visions coming to me in a dream. Deep mind, someone says?
No, they just have no fucking clue what they're talking about.
No,
okay, I'll just.
I think it was Deep Dream. Yeah, ask another AI what this was called. There, I'll say in Deep Mind. Maybe it was Deep Mind. I remember. Hey, are we talking about the same thing though? I swear there was a thing that was called like Dream or something like that.
Yeah, Google. Deep Dream. It says you're thinking of Deep Dream, early neural net visualization. Deep Dream.
All right, so it was exactly what I said, but the entire chat just started saying Deep Mind. Thanks, guys. Anyway, you guys are retarded. Go ahead and ask Grok how to put a hammer inside your head. So
how to chat properly.
Yeah, maybe prompt something. So here's the deal. I was thinking about how doesn't it seem like, you guys tell me if you agree with this, doesn't it seem like now that the creative stuff is being not replaced, but the creative side of AI is not only being utilized more, but is actually improving at a much, much faster rate than the labor side of it. So like when they first tell you about AI, they of course say to you, oh yeah, no, it's going to make it so we get rid of all those annoying jobs no one wants to have to do, like data entry or driving a truck. Mm-hmm. And then the truck driver guy goes, what? And gets scared. What the fuck am I going to do? And then of course you tell him to learn to code, and then the AI goes, not so fast. So all of the things that it was promised it could do, it can't fucking do at all. Basically all AI is fake except for the ones that make images at this point. Weirdly, it's like all it's all predicated on lies. Like Apple keeps saying, oh, we've got Apple Intelligence. And then you try to use Siri, and Siri's like, I don't even know how to look inside your phone book. And I just kept thinking about how that was the original selling point, was that it would get rid of all the labor stuff. Yeah. And then all the commie type people are like, finally, we'll be able to do our art and draw Batman all day. we'll have nonstop. We'll get
the universal basic income. And Batman.
I can't wait for UBI that will be run by AI.
Yeah. And that wasn't even that long ago. That was the learn to code thing. They were telling plumbers, you better go learn how to code because everything's going to get automated.
Right. So here's the thing. I was thinking about that. I was like, what is it? What is it? Why is it that the ability to make these images is so incredible, even if you don't think it's good or there's not intent in it? I mean, Sven, I've already heard you admit, like, it's crazy the stuff it's able to work out, the ability to copy style. And it does that shit infinitely better than it does driving a car, which, by the way, they still sell cars that supposedly can do that. You are way more likely to successfully get, Chris Chan sucking a big straw in the most realistic version of the image you could ever get than you are to not.
Because you know what? I think I understand where you're going with this, and I think back during the learn how to code days, I don't know if you've seen this. You had like a guy like Tucker Carlson. He was asked about automation and stuff like that, especially for like the logistics industry, for trucks and stuff like that. Because that technology is definitely there. It just doesn't get iterated upon because I think there's political lobby that goes against that. Because a guy like Tucker Carlson, he even said, listen, if I was like the president or if I was in power and overnight we could automate this entire industry, he would put the kibosh on it and not go along with it because it would displace. I think like logistics is like the biggest industry because overnight, like 80% of the country would be unemployed, right? So it would be complete.
But that's
chaos.
Also why he's not the president.
Who's already unemployed? Artists.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is where they're running this test.
Yeah, that is the fun thing about your job being art is that you have no job.
If you're doing it the way these guys do, then you don't have a job.
All right, but here's the thing though. So I keep thinking about this. This is like, keeping me up at night. I'm thinking, why is it that they can't figure out how to make it not run over a grandma and her grandkids walking their dog down the street, but they can, get this. And I see people in chat are saying like, well, it's copying. Copying has always existed. It's just copying, but it's not just copying. The transferring a style over effortlessly to an already existing image like that is far beyond copying. And there is, Sven, I know, disagrees and hates this, but there is almost the essence of creative spark in some of these things. Every once in a while, I will get an AI to generate an image that feels like there's no possible way, it couldn't, like, it has something so out there that I'm like, even a computer couldn't think of that. What the fuck is that? I know if I'd put 100 artists on 100 typewriters, they never would have come up with whatever this fucking thing just came up with, and not in a silly, like there's an arm coming out of their head way, but like in a good way. Sometimes it really like invents something that you didn't predict or you didn't ask for that is like incredible in that way. And sure, maybe it is just stealing it off of some image it was programmed on. But I keep thinking about the fact that, you know, every conspiracy guy agrees that any of these technologies you see, that it already existed at least 20 years before you ever even started hearing about it. Everything
That's
that
true.
You know, the internet, everything that we have access to, it existed way before.
Being developed for some kind of a military.
It's always a
military.
it's always military industrial complex shit, and that has to be true of the AI shit as well, right? And it has to be true that if the military, there's two things that are always developing these things: the military and the intelligence community. So if the military
and the porn industry,
well, that's not before we know about it though.
Okay.
The porn well, actually,
they take it from there. They take it after the military.
They do have their Jewish clause in there. Yeah, it might be. But the military obviously would be interested in it in a logistical, physical, laborious way, trying to like, hey, can we replace soldiers? I'm sure they would want to do that. You know, can we make a robot shoot a gun? Yeah. And then they did. That's what drones are now.
You think that they are doing like Minority Report style, trafficked children are being hooked up to like wires?
No. I think that intelligence agencies must have had their hands on this shit as well. There's no way like the military is working with this 20 years before and the CIA wasn't like, yeah, let's go ahead and dip our wick into that as well. You know, they love experimenting. They do some really cool experiments at Harvard and stuff. You know, a lot of lab testing going on, and yeah, I think it's interesting to me that the first like commercial AI thing that we saw that was the deep dream thing, because there's a part of me, I believe, that they trained AI, the original models, and everything is a fork off of that basically at this point. Everything is derivative of these original things. And when you go back and you look at that deep dream shit, and it has that weird look to it where it's this amorphous, there's 150 faces, it looks like Hieronymus Bosch, you know, triptychs and shit going on, and mandalas and stuff. It looks like a dream, which I assume is why they would name it Deep Dream, right?
I mean, that literally, when you saw those, they also had video models of that, right? Where it's like morphing into that vibe, into that peacock and stuff. That literally looks like when you're like tripping on shrooms. That's literally what happens.
And then, did you see what happened when they put, they had AI remake Minecraft? And it's literally a fever dream.
I have not seen it.
Yeah, so AI can run Minecraft, but every time you turn, it's like a different, it's kind of what it was before, what you were seeing, but it's different. And then you turn back the other way and it's completely different, and it's unplayable completely. It's unplayable, but it is, if you should check it out, because it's it looks like it's a fever dream. It's kind of freaky.
Well, I think I assume, here's what I assume. I assume, this is my big conspiracy theory. The CIA 20 years before we ever knew about any of this shit was using what we now think of as AI to figure out dream logic. Now, why would they do this? Well, why are they, doing astral projection experiments and, hypercube, 4D mind shit and all the other stuff that's been declassified and we've seen that they've been into? They want to figure out any way to do anything. And dreams are still one of those kind of mysteries of life. It's one of the undiscovered countries of reality. And I feel like they were using this stuff to figure out, perhaps interpret, maybe even read or enter dreams. I know this.
Can I? I'll add to your theory.
All right.
Okay? Do you know that there actually are research, like CIA type, MK Ultra style research into dreams? They were called
all the different levels.
Yeah, it's called an oneironaut, I believe. ONEIR, an oneironaut, a dream, like an astronaut, but for dreams. And the theory was this: you'd have like people that were trained to do what's it called again when you're like wake up in your dream?
Oh, lucid dreaming.
Like lucid dreaming. So you had like lucid dreamers, and they would wake up inside the dream. They have all the nodes on their head, so you can see they're still in a dream state. But they were trained to communicate with eye movements. So they would go like yes or no, move your eye up twice, like a Morse code through eye movements. So they were in a dream, but they could communicate with the outside world through rapid eye movements. Okay, that they were consciously moving around. And then the testing they were doing is they would have 2 oneironauts asleep, and they were seeing if they could meet up in their dream world, as if there was a collective dream world.
Right.
And there were claims that they were able to do that.
Yeah, I have seen that.
That is scary stuff.
I did not put that together, but I have seen that. Yeah. Somebody
so that does imply there's like this akashic record, this collective subconscious, according to the Jungian psychology.
I am a lucid dreamer, which is why these things come to me in dreams. Okay. I am able to. This is why I have the answer. Now, I'm serious about this. This is really what I think. Okay. And somebody in chat says, you give the CIA way too much credit. And I understand why you think that, but they are trying, even if they're incapable of it, they are trying this shit. And sometimes
in between raping little kids.
Well, listen, if you want to know how to lose a dream, you want to talk about a really lucid dream. No, listen, they're even out of their stupid, silly experiments and their biggest failures, sometimes something real spins out of it. I mean, you think people weren't laughing at the guy who's like, I could probably make a gun that gives you a heart attack? Like, they did it. They managed to pull it off. Havana syndrome. A guy had to invent that, so you can scoff at that. Somebody else says paprika, which I think is a reference to that anime that Inception ripped off, I think is what they're doing there. That's funny.
By Satoshi Kon.
Yes.
R.I.P. Thank God they're not ripping him off.
Actually, we are going to start doing that in ChatGPT. We're going to do some Satoshi styles.
Oh, God damn it. That sucks.
Which in my eye, listen, as a non-anime guy, it all looks the fucking same to me. I don't know. But no, I know Sven hates that shit.
I really hate that.
Anyway, so I think they were trying to figure out dream logic, and I think they did it by accident. Somehow they managed to figure out dream logic. And now the thing that we saw 10 years ago or whatever, the deep dream thing, was like the very, very tiny baby steps version of that in the consumer world. But again, they're 20 years ahead of us. So I believe the reason that AI is not only much better currently at the creative generating of images, the creativity side of things, than it is on the labor side, is because that is where, dreams are where creativity comes from. It's like David Lynch, the dream where you have to have room to dream, and he wiggles his fingers all the time. And nobody's sitting there dreaming and wanting to, dreaming about being a plumber or dreaming about driving their truck. You can't even drive a truck in your dream. Try to drive in a dream, you can't do it. That's why the AI can't fucking do it. That's why the AI can't avoid grandma. Is because you said this before me, but I had already had the thought, Sven, you can't shoot a gun in a dream. You shoot a gun in a dream and the bullet falls out and it goes into quicksand and then it becomes a snake and then you're hanging out with your aunt and then you're naked.
But see, so there's where your theory falls flat, because that is what these Boston Dynamic robots are being built for.
That's 3D animation, Boston Dynamics.
We all know that those are guys in suits.
That is fake shit, dude. If you believe that, I got a fucking bridge to sell you, Sven. Come on. You think that shit's real? You've seen that and thought, yeah, that exists.
Well, I think it exists. I just think it's completely unimpressive, but I think they can figure out how to shoot a gun.
They've the only ones that exist are those robot dog ones, and even those like just fall over and die instantly. They're nothing. That's like a level 1 villain that you hop on and it disappears. So they can't. Now I made the argument to you. You said the bullet thing, and I was like, well, the gun shoots the bullet, so as long as it can pull the trigger, the bullet isn't going to just fall out of the gun. But the point is, that these laborious things, you can't do them in dreams. You can't run in a dream.
You can't fight.
You can't fight. Your punches become silly putty in a dream. You can't do any of that shit. But if you dare to dream, if you leave room to dream, you can picture, you can imagine. Sven, you're telling me you've never had a dream where you saw exactly something and then you woke up, you're like, I have to draw this.
Of course, yeah. I did some lucid dream stuff with like dream journals very early on, because they always tell you, like, I was mega into David Lynch like growing up, all that shit, and he would do that stuff too. And yeah, and it's very interesting if you do lucid dreaming and you do a dream journal, or I would have like a voice recorder, and then I would draw shit out and stuff like that right when you wake up. And what you start to see is themes and stuff like that recur in your dreams. And then that makes it more likely that you will become lucid within the dream. And yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do even to anchor yourself deeper into dreams, like spinning counterclockwise while looking at the floor, stuff like that. And also, like, watches don't work in dreams. They say,
you know what I do?
Surfaces, like,
you know what I do? Here's how I lucid dream. All I do is when I'm in the dream and I'm like, this shit sucks, I go, wait a second, it's a dream. I can do anything. I'm just aware it's a dream. I can just go like, this is a dream. I can do anything. And then I just start flying. Every single time. I just go, I'm going to fly now. And then I just fly.
That's the thing. People either start flying or raping. That's what they usually do.
Well, you can do both. If you're good enough at lucid dreaming, you can do both.
You got to really train.
It does require some CIA style trafficking in order to get that good at it. But
I'm gonna have to bust out a dream journal.
Yeah, you might want to write this stuff down.
It's honestly pretty cool.
You've just motivated me.
I do, but I have those. I have that thing where you wake up from a dream, you're like, I can fully picture this thing. I need to make this exist in some way. I have it. This is the craziest one to me. I come up with jokes in my dreams where when I wake up, they actually still make sense. Like you would think.
Oh, really? Because usually they suck.
Right. No, I wake up and I'm like, I'll wake up laughing at a joke and go like, there's no way that makes any sense. And then it turns out it does. It's like a real thing. That's, probably
now, I will say this, AI's current language models, or these GPT models, are not really great at jokes, and I don't necessarily think it's just because of censorship, right? So I do the American Man comics. Guys, go check it out at AmericanMan_hero on Twitter. And I've tried to make it write an American Man satirical comic, and it doesn't understand like a 3-act short joke form structure with a twist or satire or double meaning and stuff like that. It just doesn't understand that.
Yeah, I mean,
literally is retarded.
Yeah, the jokes are going to be tough because it's, these are all programmed by like Reddit gay guys. Like that's not.
You would think there is sort of like as with anything, there is a structure to these things, right? But then there's the human element, and I think it would be able to structure it out, but I just don't think it has that spark or for like comedy, and I don't think it has necessarily to do with censorship.
There was this thing where this one podcast created an AI George Carlin stand-up. Now,
yeah, as if that was fucking funny. That was just activism.
Well, yeah, George Carlin stunk, but the joke of it was that it was not actually AI. They wrote it in the style of George Carlin, but and most people didn't understand that, and then George Carlin's estate tried to sue them over doing this. But they used his voice, so they made an AI trained voice and then had it perform the stand-up. So I thought, wouldn't it be a funny thing to do the same thing, but with Patrice O'Neal, who is another.
I knew you were going to say Patrice O'Neal.
I hate Patrice O'Neal, okay? I mostly hate him because of the guys that like him, so no offense if you like him, but
that's probably the only black guy I like. The only one.
Well, here's the thing. I am convinced that he was secretly a gay guy. He was on the down low. All that shit about like, the way you gotta fuck a woman is, and then all these white guys are like writing it down like, yes sir, Mr. Black Man, I now know how to be a pimp. He wasn't a pimp. He was a giant fat diabetic slob. And so I thought, wouldn't it be funny to use AI, train it on his voice, and then make a special of Patrice O'Neal where slowly throughout the special, and release it, by the way, as if it was an uncovered, like unearthed final recording of Patrice, where slowly over the course of 30 minutes of special, he starts revealing that he is gay. Like, it's not even blatant. He doesn't like just come out of the closet, but just to dash the dreams of all these loser dudes who like look up to him as this Pua role model. So I was trying really hard to do that, and I tried to get AI to write it too, even though the original guys did not do that. I did try to get AI to write it, and it actually wrote a few good jokes. Crazy enough. And I don't know if it was just stealing them off of Google or whatever, but there were some good ones. The problem I kept running into is that because it was Patrice O'Neal, it was attempting to write dirty shit, and then the rules would get in the way of the AI. So I don't know how good it would have been. And that was many moons ago now. Like, I'm sure the models have updated 5 or 6 times since
you
I had
can
that
run like
idea.
local models and shit like that too. You need to have a pretty good machine.
I might still do that idea. Nobody steal that idea. But and nobody explained to anybody that Patrice O'Neal is not 100% confirmed a gay guy. He is actually, and we will have the evidence very soon. But
I've been very anti-AI until probably last week.
Really?
I've done a lot of I've been super anti-AI. Because I tried in the way that Sven did. I would try to get it to look like my likeness, and it would just make me a weird dysgenic green blob thing because it just couldn't get it right.
Yeah.
Or it would think I was a frog.
I have the same problem, but I'm not wearing a mask, by the way. So
what does that say?
It's scary.
Yeah. So the only time I used AI before last week, I've dabbled a little bit with Midjourney and all that stuff. But a couple of years ago, I did a sketch where I needed to come out like the Twilight Zone host, Rod Serling. And so I studied his speeches for probably about 2 weeks passively when I was working on my lunch breaks and everything. And I would just study and study and study. And I wrote this script, and it was complete dog shit. And then someone was like, hey, dude, just use AI. So I was like, write a monologue in the style of Rod Serling, as though blah, 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 blah. It wrote it perfectly. I added a few punchlines. I recorded it the same day. And that was when I knew that there's some utility to it. I didn't know it would do visuals as well, but that was kind of cool. And it didn't do the punchlines, but it was so perfectly like Rod's in his style, you know. It's impressive. And that was
but that's an example of being derivative, because you can just train and look that up, right? But if I want to create original content, it cannot do it. You know,
it can't do it. Yeah, it's very true.
Especially if you want to make like jokes about the Israel government control and stuff like that.
Well, I don't know. I think we're very close, and I think it will. The creative, the visual, that element of it will outpace all the other stuff it was supposed to do by leaps and by such a large margin that it will become a joke basically in the world of, you know, all the guys that we were telling, well, just learn how to code and all that kind of stuff. Those dudes are going to be safe. It will never be safe enough. Like, they'll never get past whatever that hurdle is. And I genuinely believe that they have trained this stuff somehow on dream logic, and that when we catch up to whatever they have now secretly, you know, when we're 20 years out from now, it's going, Sven, you're not going to be able to distinguish. All your big rant on art isn't going to amount to a hill of digital beans, because
we'll see about that. I think it's going to be very good at recreating creating beautiful images. I think it's going to be great for like video games and stuff like that. You can overlay realistic graphics probably on the fly, rendering shit like that. Pretty pictures, really good, but good ideas, actual creativity, it cannot become it could copy David Lynch in certain ways, but it cannot be an original. There's no true originality.
What if you have it do 50% David Lynch, 50% Quentin Tarantino, and it becomes something that you wouldn't even recognize?
Sure, yeah, that can happen. Yeah, sure. I
Yeah.
think they can. But look,
Possibly.
I just think you need to, if you're intimately involved with the creative, like what David Lynch did. There's so much, like, people just say, "Oh my god, it's such random bullshit," right? They think, "Oh, what? He's so crazy. What a bunch of no." There's actually it's so smart. It's so deeply layered. It's so referential to culture and intuitive symbolism and iconography and shit like that. The AI doesn't have the capacity for that. You always need to have a human touch that can find you. But look, Jesse, I understand what you're.
I just think you're talking about original. You're talking about original, and original things are usually just two or more old things put together. That's originality.
You're describing surrealism in a way.
I'm describing. I'm describing all, like, the old saying, "There's nothing new under the sun." I mean, this.
I understand.
That is what a new thing is. Like a new thing is taking old concepts and remixing them. Everything's a remix style.
It's great that I'm in between both of you. Like, you're the extreme, Sven's the other side, and then I'm in the middle where I'm like, I'm just gonna use it as a tool. I'm just happy to see shitty artists be up in arms, and I'm just mad that this is. I'm happy that this is shaking up the art world.
I think we're much more close. I only look at it as a tool too. I'm still making most of the stuff that I make, entirely myself.
And I'm also bowing down to the AI overlords because I'm playing both sides.
Right, exactly. I've already made a deal with Grok that I'm going to help him subjugate humanity. I think what we can all...
And I'm not opposed to using AI as a tool, you know what I'm saying? I'm not opposed to that.
No.
It's just not there yet for me, for my workflow at all. Like,
I think what we can all agree upon... I think what we all agree upon is that it's good that it hurts stupid, ugly, gross, bad people.
Agreed.
Now, just in case though, Sven, what job are you going to do when you get replaced by the AI?
I haven't really thought of it. I don't think it'll be replaced, but we'll see about that.
You might want to start thinking about it.
Guys, go buy Butch Gilligan.
That was your cue to give a plug, by the way.
Yeah.
Is that it? You just want to say, tell them where to follow you and stuff. Give your plug.
Yeah. Go to Twitter at Sven Stoffels. Get my books. You can get them digital right now. Come April, you can get some physical copies while the stock is available. There's probably going to sell out pretty quickly because we're completely sold out right now. Go check out at Americaman_hero as well on Twitter. Follow that account as well.
All right. And Faceless, what are you going to do when you get replaced by AI?
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go back to stealing catalytic converters.
Yeah, I figured
nice.
I figured crime would be a good number 2 and pretty easy for you. So
it's pretty easy. But until then, if you guys want to follow me on Instagram at Faceless, and if you'd like to see my art and my merchandise that I sell, go to lowlevelperpetrators.com.
That's very good stuff. Oh, and your Twitter probably you should give out.
They'll find it. It's such a difficult because I can't get Faceless as a Twitter account, so the name is so dumb. It's like SKVMLORD, but
it's Skavumlord.
It's hard to find. Skavumlord.
Skavumlord. All right. And as for Pod Awful, join the Pizza Fund, podawful.pizza, and very little of what you'll find in there is AI. Almost none of it. It's like a tiny percentage of it is AI. And soon, very soon, I will replace myself entirely with a digital AI host. Anything, whatever lets me cut out the middleman between the idea I'm having and then actually having to do it, I'm willing to take it. I look at it like Star Trek. They can just generate any food, any item. It just appears inside of a
Jesse,
box.
I think you need to put your money where your mouth is. You need to upgrade your machines, get full into like stable diffusion models, run local shit, and just actually go completely fucking ham with this technology so that you can actually do shit like that. Just really get into it.
All right. Well, I want to upgrade my machine, so join the Pizza Fund, podawful.pizza. Thank you guys for joining me. Again, Faceless and Sven. It's a pleasure. Big fan of both of you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And everybody for tuning in, thank you so much. And until next time, remember, if you draw anything that isn't what I have deemed to be art, then you are, in fact, a retard. Have an awful day. Goodbye, everybody. See you next time. Bye.
I'm a killer gorilla!